This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley, and it is a victory Monday here in Pittsburgh. The Steelers beating the pants off the New York Jets on Sunday
Pretty
Night
much.
Football. Matt winning that one 37-15. And I want to say I told you so, and you as well.
Mm-hmm.
We told you so.
Quarterbacks matter. It's a big difference.
Quarterbacks matter. Yeah.
First off, score still bothers me. I still think it should be 13, not 15.
Well,
but
there's that.
such is life.
Yeah.
But at the half, I was upset about it. Then quickly that got over it because the second half absolutely belonged to the Steelers. Both sides of the ball, dominant. Wilson was, and I think will continue to be, a difference maker for this team in a lot of different ways. Not everything that shows up, to the naked eye, and I think the experience is a big, big thing. Small example, Steelers prepare for Anthony Richardson, and then Flacco, who's not as good as Russ, comes in and has a lot of success because he knows where to go with the football and all those things,
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, and we saw it open up the running game. As the game went on, once you started hitting some of those passes down the field, all of a sudden now the Jets safeties can't come crashing at the snap of the football, and just it raises the level of all the water across the board.
I promise there was 6 to 10 plays. They kept harping on the TV copy about all the stuff he was doing at the line of scrimmage. And not that other quarterbacks don't do things at the line of scrimmage, but it was obvious. There was a play Warren almost scored. It was like a 12-yard run. He comes down to the line of scrimmage, checks out of the play immediately. You could just see his body language. It's real abrupt. And he kind of points where there's a bubble, where there's nobody over the right guard. Hands it to Warren as they're adjusting on defense. And right behind McCormick, 12 yards. That's outsmarting the opponent. There's a lot of those instances. Get out of bad plays.
It's some of the stuff that, we talked about with Aaron Rodgers going into last week's game.
Exactly.
With, he's going to get, he'll get you with pace. He'll get you to jump.
He almost
outside.
got you the 12th man. Him and Tomlin were chuckling at each other about it. Yeah.
Just the little things like that. I thought it was, as the Steelers are going down to score their last touchdown, I think they got the ball back. That was after the Jets turned the ball over on downs in the fourth quarter, and there was still 7:53 left.
Okay.
And the Steelers go on a 13-play, 75-yard touchdown drive that eats up 7 minutes and 27 seconds because every play, the ball was snapped with like 2 seconds left.
Exactly. Small things. Small things that turn into big things.
Not with 9 seconds left, 2 seconds left.
Right. Exactly. And again, Fields might get to that point someday, but it doesn't happen quickly at all, So, no, I think experience and all that time in stadiums and, by all accounts, you'd know better than I do, but just like player interviews after, he was obviously struggling in the first half. But second, third drive in particular, he's bouncing balls on short throws, but apparently his confidence never waned. I'll get this, we'll be fine. Realized he wasn't playing great, and then he did. And
then he did. And, it wasn't even, to me, some of the throws that he made. Mm-hmm. Some of them weren't great throws per se.
Right. He didn't look like Dan Marino out there.
But he took the chance to allow his guys to make plays.
I know.
And those are the things that you don't know. Again, when you're watching Justin Fields play the position, you don't know how many throws he turned down in which he had George Pickens one-on-one. Exactly. And didn't give him a chance. Or he had a Pat Freiermuth, behind a safety and didn't make the throw because, I don't know if I can make that throw. I don't want to turn the ball over.
Yep. The fade to Pickens in the end zone so reminded me of my days with Larry Fitzgerald because Wilson comes to the line. It looks like he peeks out of his right eye. Oh, I got one-on-one over there with my guy. Doesn't look at him again. Sits there, takes a snap, looks left just for a second to take the safety out of any possible thing and knew exactly where he was going with the football. Boom, boom, boom. Just go let him make a play. It doesn't have to be the best throw in the world,
We've said it all offseason when they acquired Russell Wilson. He had 28 touchdown passes last year. 20 of them were in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
2 red zone touchdown passes last year. You are allowed to throw the ball into the end zone.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be a run every time.
And he rarely turns the ball over down there. I mean, it's a really condensed area. I mean, red zone passing is one of the absolute hardest things of quarterbacking, no matter how talented you are. So I was really impressed, and I think it had a massive ripple effect, even more so than his final numbers.
Yeah, I thought it was a strong showing. Again, he warmed up as the game went on, and I think he warmed up when they started throwing the ball down the field. I think they were trying to get him some easy throws early to kind of shake the rust off a little bit.
Yeah,
and that wasn't getting it done.
No, right.
I thought the one that really, and it wasn't a long pass, but he had a guy in his face. He rolled to his left with a guy in his face, and he flicked the ball out to Freiermuth, and Freiermuth turned it into a 30-yard gain. I'm like, okay. Now
yeah. It was on time, and it was, right. It was crisp, and, okay, take a hit. I made a play, good timing. I trust the guys around me. And, frankly, the O-line was struggling in the first half, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, quite a bit. I mean, he was under a lot of pressure. Until you backed the Jets
out of that attacking the line of scrimmage stuff, that was what was going to happen, because that's what's been happening to the Steelers over and over again here.
I was even talking more of a pass rush perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, it got a lot better in the second half, but I thought he was under a lot of duress early,
you just slowed them down a little bit to the point, okay, now he's starting to throw to the backs here.
And they start to wear out.
That little flip pass out that they did continually to Darnell Washington, that slows down the pass rush some.
Exactly. I mean, give Arthur Smith some credit, too. I mean, you run play action, half rollout, hit the tight end for an easy throw. Well, that neutralizes a pass rush.
Yeah, you're slowing those guys down. We see teams try to do it with T.J. Watt all the time. You try to suck him in and then throw the ball over his head. So the Steelers were averaging just over 160 passing yards per game.
Okay,
coming into this game in the first 6 weeks, they hit 5 passes of 20 or more yards in this game. That totaled 168 yards by themselves.
Yeah, just those plays.
Just those chunk plays.
Yeah.
And then you add the chunk runs in that they had.
And they weren't fluky one play for 80 yards, Calvin Austin run, missed tackle or blown coverage. I mean, they were – I think we can – again, one game, folks. I think we can count on more of that.
That kind of stuff is going to be there, and I think it's going to open up the running game.
100%.
Because now you're not going to – I mean, I go back to last week's game against the Raiders. In the first 2 series and even into the third series – the Raiders' strong safety, Trevor Moehring, at the snap of the football, looked like he was Usain Bolt running at the line of scrimmage.
He had one intention, right? Yeah. I'm coming.
I'm going to try to blow up this running play because Steelers going to run the ball here. Well, now, when Russell Wilson gets to the line of scrimmage, you don't know.
Right.
If your strong safety's crashing like that, the ball might be going over his head.
Mm-hmm. No, I think a lot of that's true. And, again, if you're going to hit more deep balls and more chunk plays, people might just start backing off and cover 2 you to death and go from there. Who knows?
Yeah, and again, I think with everybody talked about, how are they going to replace the rushing that Justin Fields gets you? Well, Jaylen Warren's back.
Or you're going to throw for more yards.
Or you're going to throw for more yards, and Jaylen Warren's back. Yeah. So you got 102 yards in this game out of Najee Harris.
You're not short on ball carriers.
You got another 44 out of Jaylen Warren. Well, that's 146 rushing yards right there.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, by the way, Russell Wilson added 3 more and could have had more if he wanted to run more.
He's still capable. That made me crazy all last week.
Yeah, anybody who thinks that this guy's a statue in a pocket, turn on the tape of last night's game.
Right.
He's
he might
moving
not
around
be as athletic as he was 15 years ago or whatever. But
he's not the athlete that Justin Fields is. But he's a better quarterback.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I think that's one game to show it, but I think it's very obvious, and especially if you go back to camp and as much as we were able to see, and his career,
Yeah. And the people who were talking about him like he's washed up, he's this, he's that, go back and look at Kurt Warner's career.
Oh, yeah.
He was great early, with the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went to the Giants.
The Giants were bad.
The Giants was bad because the team around him was not good.
It was a brutal situation, right? Then he goes to the Cardinals with Larry and Bolden. And
all of a sudden, he's taking them to a Super Bowl.
Right. He knows really good above the neck,
Situations matter.
Mm-hmm.
And, yes, the Steelers aren't, oozing with offensive skill player talent, but they have more than what Broncos had last year and the year before that.
Yeah, 100%. Then And he was picked to fit the system, not the system thrust upon you too.
I haven't seen the final play action numbers yet, Matt, but I'll be interested to see what those look like when everything gets tallied up.
Yeah,
because I saw a lot of play action.
Good.
Yeah,
I bet it's a lot, and I bet it's good.
Somebody mentioned, well, he took over 3 seconds in the pocket to throw the football.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, when you're running that much play action,
yeah,
you're going to hold the ball a little bit longer, but you're also freezing the linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, and I'm not poking anything at Ben. He had an unbelievable career, but at the end, it was kind of like Rodgers last night.
Yeah,
and
you knew the ball was coming out quick.
2-3.
And what did teams do?
It's not always better to hit it out that quick.
Defenders immediately people talked about all the time. Well, Ben's getting all these balls batted down at the line of scrimmage. He's 6'5". Why would he get all his balls batted down?
Right.
Because they're quick.
They're
not rushing. They're just getting their hands up.
They know they can't get home.
Yeah.
And they're attacking the catch. And to me, the biggest turning point of the game. Well, not even a turning point. It's just they tackled poorly in the first half. They tackled great in the second half. And I think part of it's understanding. That's the most important thing. He's going to get the ball out quick, and we're going to have to tackle Breece Hall and Wilson, and these guys are really good with the ball in their hands. We're going to get our hands up and bat passes down. We probably aren't going to sack him because he doesn't like getting hit anymore.
The first Beanie Bishop interception, which kind of changed the game,
it was huge,
was because if you rewatch the play, Rodgers was going to throw to him earlier, but Cam Hayward got the hands up. Mm-hmm. And so you watch him, and he kind of double clutched it and then threw.
Yeah.
Wilson was open when he was immediately
if he throws it on time,
that one extra half second, that millisecond that he double clutched the ball allowed Beanie Bishop to get the coverage back in and undercut the route, and it's an interception.
So I know we're going to have Rob on next, but I did a show with him earlier, and we were talking a lot of hidden yardage on special teams.
Jets special teams was actually worse than what I thought it was going to be.
It was a real problem, that's for sure.
In fact, I tweeted out during the game that after the first two punts, they muffed the first one and fumbled the second one out of bounds. I'm like, I'm kicking the ball down the middle of the field.
Yeah. Let's see what he can do.
Let's see if this guy puts another one on the ground somewhere where you can recover it.
Not to mention
they get two kicks blocked.
Right. Yeah.
And even the return guys on the kickoffs were bad.
I'm like, you should kneel, dude. But where I was going with it was actually the swatted passes. It's like another area of the team you could easily ignore, but it's a lot of plays. I mean, only the Chiefs swatted down more passes than the Steelers last year, and they have to be near the top of the league this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
one of them came from Keanu Benton on a fourth down.
Yeah, right.
Watt had one that if he didn't swat that down, he was going to kill Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's like the only play I remember them single blocking him, and he gets two-hand swat where he was about to come off the top rope on him. Right.
He's like, ah!
right. And people think he's been kind of having a down couple games. And
Rodgers is getting rid of the ball in 2.4 seconds. You're not,
and he's getting doubled every snap.
You're getting doubled and tripled. You're not going to get there.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor or Superman wouldn't have got there. I mean, and I still hear, man, imagine when Watt and Minka start playing well. I'm like, they're playing great. No,
you can't. You can't just look at the stats. You just can't.
What are their impact?
I saw somebody put out that Watt only had one pressure in 46 pass dropbacks or whatever it was, 42 or whatever it was in the game.
A bunch.
And I'm like, first of all, the ball was coming out ridiculously fast. Second of all, he was credited with 2 quarterback hits. So how do you get a quarterback hit
one pressure, right,
and only one pressure?
Yeah.
Pressure's a made-up stat.
I never quoted in my stat pack. It's just too gray for me.
Yeah.
It's like,
somebody tell me what it is. You got to define it for me before I'm going to start going, oh, yeah, that's a real stat.
I've heard some people say if you're within X amount of feet of the ball when it's released, and I'm like, I still don't 100% buy that. I mean, I look at pressure rate and things just to see who's at the top and who's at the bottom, but it's not like I quote it or like totally buy it, you know, or which quarterbacks are better under pressure. Those things are real over a big sample size.
Technically, you could say guys like T.J. Watt or Myles Garrett or Nick Bosa, they put pressure on the quarterback on every single drop back because I guarantee you the quarterback knows where they're at.
Yeah, if I have to play 9 on 10 because that guy's on the field, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure on my shoulders, right?
And to say that those guys don't affect games even when they're not getting sacks. I know I've joked about Myles Garrett not having no tackles and those, but they affect the game
Massively.
You have to account for those guys
Massively.
Usually with more than one player. It's usually 2 and sometimes 3, and that affects how you operate as an offense.
No doubt. And side note, I just want to make sure I get it out there, is they allowed a lot of holding in this game.
Yes, they did.
And I thought more so favoring the Jets than the Steelers, but I am looking at it through black and gold colored glasses a little. But
there were a couple of guys who got tackled on the way to the quarterback.
And Tyron Smith versus Highsmith could have been a lot uglier, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought the defense, other than again, the missed tackles on Breece Hall in the first half, was really good. Again, another shutout in the second half of a game. They went into that game allowing 5.7 points per game in the second half over the course of the season. That's only going to go lower. And if you can do that with this offense, it's often like I can't remember who the sprinter was, but if it's even, I'm leaving.
That's just a receiver term too, like Randy Moss and all those. That's a receiver term too. They're plus 68 point differential in the second half. I mean, I know it.
Over the course of 7 games now.
Yeah.
So basically 10 points. You're winning the second half of games by 10 points every week.
Every week. And some of it's physicality. Some of it's nobody ever wants to give the coaches any credit that they're always getting out-coached in the first half. Why are they always so flat? Well, maybe they make really good adjustments in the second, too. You know what I mean? There's just a couple ways to look at that. But I think a lot of it's how physical they are. And Tomlin practices those guys hard. Collinsworth kept talking about it last night. He's like, they do the pre-meetings with the coaches, and he's like, Coach T, are there players you don't get in free agency because you guys work harder than other teams? Like, absolutely. He's like, that's no secret at all. And then we realize we don't want them anyway because they want to work hard.
You don't want to play football. You want to play. You want to. There's a difference between being a football player
and playing football.
Yeah. You want to be an NFL player because you like the money.
Yeah.
Or do you like the game? Which one is
catching touchdowns, but I don't really like on Wednesday being in the weight room a little longer, or getting shoot out, or
tackling during training camp and things like that.
Right, taking the iPad home.
But I like walking around and going into a restaurant and everybody comes over and and maybe they give me a free dinner.
Right, all that, of course.
I love that.
Yeah. But one goes hand in hand with the other sometimes.
And it's why sometimes you see guys who are uber talented that don't work out because
they don't love it.
They don't love it.
It's not their fault.
No.
They love
it's not for
playing
everybody.
The piano or whatever they like doing, and they're just not as good at it as a football player. You know?
It's just,
some people just do it because they're good at it.
Yeah, it's just that mentality. But let's get to a break. We'll continue talking about last night's 37-15 win over the Jets here with Rob King next, but we'll also continue talking about it over the course of the show here. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're joined on the phone line by the Rob King. Although, Kinger, I'm a little ticked off at you because I banged my leg really hard against the when I was walking down the steps into the booth last night to do the show. I was trying to step around you. I didn't right on the kneecap. Right on the kneecap. And I looked at it today when I woke up because I didn't think about it until I woke up this morning. I got like a nice knot there right on my kneecap where I banged the kneecap.
It's all your fault, Kinger.
It's all Kinger's fault. He was in the zone though. I didn't want him he's studying his paperwork. Going over everything,
Diligent.
making sure everything is right going into the game. So I didn't want to tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Rob, I got to get around you here." So I just kind of slide around him and banged my knee on the corner of the wall. But Kinger, how you doing?
It's one of the only bad things that happened last night.
Yeah, it really was the only bad thing that happened, and of course it happened to me. So
hurt and, we admire your ability to play through pain.
Well,
he's toughing it out today, though. I think he's going to survive.
Those knee contusions, they can put you out for a while. But Kinger, 37-15 win last night. The 74 team honored at halftime. The building was electric. And the Steelers put on a good show.
They did. Impressive. So many little things leading to the big victory. Every defense, special teams, offense. Everyone wants to talk about Russell Wilson, and rightly so. A lot to be enthusiastic about with him. But, all in all, guys, I just thought everything contributed to a really, really dominating Steelers win.
Yeah, let's just dig into Wilson. I mean, how much different did the offense look and feel to you live? You know, how crisp the plays were coming in, him at the line of scrimmage, knowing where to go with the football, putting touch on the ball, all those things. And again, this is no knock on Justin Fields, you know?
No. And I'm a big Justin Fields fan. I really like Justin Fields. I think there's a lot of things that he can do, and I love his approach and his attitude. A lot of things that, some things that he needs to do a little bit better, and I think he understands that. But I mean, I don't think his story is finished being written by any means. But when you go out and acquire a 9-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion, there is going to be a difference. There aren't that many guys like that in the league. Well, 9-time Pro Bowlers, but I mean, guys who are, number one type of quarterbacks.
At this point, Rob, there aren't that many quarterbacks who've actually won a Super Bowl in the league.
Right. That's right.
Brady and Mahomes had them all, right?
Yeah, Brady and Mahomes had a monopoly on them. Roethlisberger, Manning, Flacco snuck one in there, but it's lately it's been Mahomes and some of the other guys, and nobody else gets a chance to win these things.
Right, and this is a little bit of a reminder of what that difference is between this, and I'm not even just talking about Justin Fields, who's the best we've seen in a while for me at the Steelers quarterback position. But when you take that type of a player, and there aren't that many, and you insert him into an offense, it makes a big difference. It just does. That's why top quarterbacks make, $50 million a year. And this was a reminder that, he is that guy, because we needed a reminder, some of us did, because of how things went for him the last couple of years in Denver. Everybody thought, wow, what a tremendous, pickup for Denver, and this is going to take them, they thought it was going to take them to the next level. And they had to give up a lot to get him, but this is the right guy. And then it just didn't work. I mean, you had a coordinator, a coach in the first year who just got demoted again as a coordinator. So that was a mess. And then you bring in another coach who wants to go in a different direction. And, I think I just said direction as opposed to direction. Moving in a little different direction. So, all of a sudden now you're looking at a guy whose legacy is a little bit tarnished. And then, you see him in practice. We saw him, guys. Everything is always the word that always comes to mind for me is just crisp. Everything just looks crisp. The way the ball throws through the air, the way he moves in and out of the huddle, the way he seems to be in charge of everything. It's just crisp with everything. And we saw that last night. This is a crisply run offense, crisp throws to his receivers. Just a lot to like about what he can bring. And I think about when I look back at what they were able to accomplish with quarterbacks who, frankly, are now backups and lucky to be in the league, and to be able to win games and get to the playoffs with quarterbacks of that ilk. And then you bring in Russell Wilson and you realize it. And that's not a knock on anybody that's been here. It's just a different level. It's a rare level that he's been able to achieve. And on top of that, I just think that, and this was always my concern, and it kind of manifested itself the last couple of years. What happens when you're in a game in which Joe Burrow's on fire and the defense has got a hard time stopping him, and your running game really isn't going? Well, what's happened in the last couple of years is you've suffered some rare blowouts. You haven't been able to match them punch for punch. Now I think with a quarterback like Russell Wilson, when the inevitable game comes along and the other team scores, 28 points, can you score 30? And I think now you feel like, I think we can.
No, I agree completely. I mean, you start to looking at things like point differential.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers are now plus 60, and I understand that, Baltimore hasn't played yet, but that plus 60 is 3 points behind the Bills for second most in the AFC. The Ravens right now they'd have to win by 32 points tonight to get to that plus 60. They're plus 28 right now. You look over at the Detroit is plus 62. The Commanders of all teams are plus 66. Minnesota's at plus 61. Those are the teams that you're right there with right now, because you've shown the ability now in back-to-back weeks, and it's been a different ways that you've done it, but you've blown out two teams in a row, and that's just something we haven't seen a lot of here in Pittsburgh, probably since the 2020 season when Roethlisberger was coming back from the elbow injury.
Right. And I think there were a number of things to like, and one of them, and I don't want to gloss over any of them. There's so many to talk about. And one of the things that I haven't really talked about yet was just that final drive. I mean, you're the Jets. You've got a couple timeouts left. You're thinking, okay, if we can get a 3 and out, we still got a chance. There's still a chance in that game with 7.5 minutes or thereabouts left in the game to maybe pull a rabbit out of the hat. You march down the field. Rodgers gets you a score with a quick 3-minute offense. You kick it back and you kick it off. You use your timeouts. You have the 2-minute warning to get the ball back. You still have a chance. Yeah, you need a 2-point conversion in there, but you still got a chance. Well, then they just march the ball down the field and punch it in the end zone with 30 seconds left. I mean, that is beautiful. Remember, the Steelers weren't winning. Now, again, they had a one-play touchdown drive after the Beanie Bishop interception, but they were not winning the time of possession battle. That's a very encouraging sign for me to be able to, it doesn't always have to be your defense that finishes it off and wins it for you. I think the hope now is that the offense can do that. The offense can go on this long, time-consuming drive that just puts the game away, which is what they did last night.
It's funny you mention that because I asked, Cam Hayward about that last night after the game, and I said, when the offense scores 31 unanswered points like that and dominates the time of possession in the second half, as a defense, how does that, what's that do for you guys on defense? Because it's funny, me and TJ were talking about, we're like, boy, I sure hope the offense gives them the ball back here at some point or we score here or something because we want to go out there and try to eat a little bit here. They're going to be in desperation mode. You want to try to go do some stuff. With 30 seconds left, they weren't going back in the game.
And Robert, along those lines, before you answer, something Dale and I have talked about now for years on the drive are how many opportunities in TJ Watt's career have they had a 10-point lead with 3.5 minutes on the clock, towels flying, loud as can be, and everyone on the planet knows you're rushing the passer and you can't get the ball out in 2.2 seconds. Imagine the production this pass rush would have with more of those situations.
I totally agree. And, you think about the great pass rushers and, you can think of that in terms of clutch, Joey Porter, James Harrison, you're up 7 and there's 4.5 minutes left and or whatever, they've got to throw the ball and here you come and you come up with, Lawrence Taylor, you come up with these, yes, that it is the ability to rise to the occasion, but it's also the ability to, at home, with a home crowd, making you maybe have to go to a silent count and eliminating some of that advantage the offensive line has and that great pass rusher knowing that you've got to throw, that helps too. Yes, it's a clutch gene, but it's also we've got an advantage type of gene. And I do agree. I think it would be wonderful to see Cam Hayward and to see TJ Watt not have to worry about the run, not even have to think about the run. What would that do to their production? Because both guys are such great all-around players. Now what happens when they have to throw the ball? I agree. I think their numbers would certainly elevate under those circumstances.
So, Rob, you and I were talking on a different show about hidden yardage, some of the stuff that isn't on the box score to the naked eye or fantasy points or the back of your football card, special teams, all these different areas they're winning. And I think it just needs to be talked about more. I mean, that's just comes from top-down coaching,
Well, I think that, at some point here, and again, it's one game, right? We know that. And you're going to play another game against a team that's hopefully you'll be able to take care of business on Monday Night Football against a Giants team that's struggling.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see as the season wears on and you get to play tougher and tougher opponents. But I agree with you. I think that I think that this offense is going to, hopefully be an improvement. I still go back to, what happened when Mason Rudolph came in. We're not talking about Kenny Pickett. With Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph quarterbacking your team, what was Trubisky, 0-3 or 0-4 last year? If he's not quarterbacking your game, you've got a winning record. That is a reflection to me on, to circle back to your point, on great coaching and understanding what your assets are and how you can win a game. So, I mean, and I've said this before, like, I don't care if imagine you're playing pickup in the Y, and you pick up teams, what is the first thing you should be thinking? Well, what assets do we have? How can our team win this game? Well, that's what great head coaches are doing. They're not just saying, this is what we do and we're going to do it. Put to the floor, here we go, we're playing, 90 miles an hour. Okay, great. When that doesn't work, what are you doing then? And so Mike Tomlin, I think, and his staff have had the capability to go in and, yes, they've had a very good defense. Yes, they've been able to do some things on special teams. But they also he's also managing with the assets he has to win the game at hand, which is why when a team, starts blowing you out, you just don't have the assets to match that. Mm-hmm. That's what excites me about getting a quarterback that can do this. But, yeah, we talked about this back in camp that, the addition of Cam Johnston would add 25 yards per game net punting to your total, which is enough to improve you from 24th, 25th, whatever the number was that the Steelers were in total yardage last year, to 17th, 18th, almost average, just by that hidden yardage and the block kicks. Yep. And even little things like, so the Steelers had a punt safe on last night. They had the defense out there, worried that the Jets around midfield were going to go for it. They kicked to Calvin Austin, and he picks up 9 yards. Now, is that a team, a league-leading return yardage? No, it isn't. But is it it's practically a first down. It's 9 yards that he picked up on a punt return when you were in punt safe.
It was also 9 yards where you would have been getting the ball. It was also 9 yards where you've been getting the ball inside your own 20, which affects how you call plays at that point.
One fewer first down.
Not in the 12. That's right. You're not in the 12. You're now in the 21, and that opens things up considerably. So, yeah, a lot of those factors, understandably can go unheralded and go, sort of unnoticed by fans, which is why it's our job to help bring them up and say, hey, listen, consider this aspect of the game. Of course, a lot of fans have considered it already, but some fans, newer fans may not have, I didn't really quite consider it that way. There's a lot of things that the Steelers have done over the last couple of years. The block kicks, more than anybody in the NFL since the beginning of the 2022 season. Those are real things. Those are factors that help you win. I know, Matt, you've used the expression win in the margins. Well, I think great teams can do both. They can win in the margins, and then they can also, beat you by outscoring you or out-defending you. I remember in Jay Caulfield, my friend and former co-host on the Penguins, used to talk about when the Penguins teams were great here with Crosby and Malkin, and when they were great back in the early Mario days, they could beat you any way you wanted. You want to play low scoring? We'll beat you low scoring. You want to open it up? Well, great, but good luck. And I think that there's hopefully if you can get more going with the Steelers offense, I think that's something they'll be able to do. They've already proven with their incredible, 11-4 in one-score games since the beginning of last year, something like that, that they can win that way, right? And that means the little things you're talking about, Matt. Now, isn't it kind of fun to be able to win 37-15 on Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, it's and that goes to coaching. And you talked about Russell Wilson being in Denver under two different offensive systems. The first one didn't fit. The first one was designed. It was Hackett's system for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah.
They were bringing the Green Bay offense there because they thought they were getting Aaron Rodgers.
That's why he got hired.
That's why he got hired. It's the only reason he got hired.
Right.
And he's now since been fired from two different jobs in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then the second year, you got Sean Payton coming in and saying, no, we got to run my offense. It's got to be my offense, not what best suits my team. And you're absolutely right. That is coaching. That's the difference between, you see so many times, especially in football, we got to run my system. Well, you see it in other sports too, particularly football, basketball, hockey, baseball. That's not really such a system. But if I've got a bunch of home run hitters as a baseball manager, we're not going to try to steal a bunch of bases. Right.
There's X ingredients in the fridge. You got to make something out of it to feed the fam. Whether it's a delicacy or if it's slop.
I'm not going to make this spam. No offense to spam, and try to tell you that it's filet mignon. No, that's not how this works. You got to work with what you got.
Well, I totally 100% agree with that. And then the other thing is too, let's not forget Russell Wilson, and I think some of that was financially based, their move last year. I don't remember exactly.
Oh, 100%. He didn't fit Peyton's system and Peyton wanted to move on, and so they didn't play him the last 2 games, so he didn't get hurt, and then they would have had to pay him.
They knew they were going to move on from him.
Right, and then you also missed the playoffs when you had an opportunity to make the playoffs too. But I think they lost those last 2 games. Russ didn't play, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, he was 8th in the league in passer rating last year. I know passer rating's not everything, but you got to pick a statistic. I like passer rating. It emphasizes touchdowns, touchdown to interception ratio. But he was 8th in the league. It isn't like he was a failure. He was 8th in the league, had a winning record, I believe. I think he was 8-7 as a starting quarterback last year, and had the good quarterback rating. And so it's not like you're taking someone broken and trying to rebuild them. I mean, this isn't Humpty Dumpty here. We're talking about a guy who had a great year and is a 9-time Pro Bowler. And the other thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is that when Mike Tomlin is talking about turnover margins with Bob Labriola on that outstanding pregame show, Labs does such a phenomenal job of that interview. He brought up turnover ratio, and Mike Tomlin was talking about that, and I just looked up, turnover ratio, and there's Russell Wilson, 3rd in NFL history at touchdown to interception ratio. Well, doesn't that fit like a glove what the Steelers are trying to do? So, and again, but it fits in with what the Steelers have been trying to do, what Justin Fields did so well, what other quarterbacks have been trying to do for this team. Don't turn the ball over. Okay, but it's like a boxer who can also punch. That's what I think you have. It's not just a boxer. It's not just a slugger. Now, hopefully, with Russell Wilson, you have somebody, he can box, but guess what? Here comes the right hand, too. He can hit you with that. So I just, it's one game. It is only one game. But when you think about how different of a feel that was last night, it's hard not to get excited.
Well, the boxer, the right overhead right hand right now has been Najee Harris. And
yes,
I think that
absolutely.
this opens everything up for him and makes the Steelers a much more dangerous team because they want to run the football, but you also now know that they have a quarterback capable of beating your defense over the top. So how do you defend this team?
Right. It's a great question. And, Matt, were you talking about the second half point differential on that show we were doing earlier?
Plus 68.
Yeah, plus 68. And, it is something, and I don't know, proponents of the run will tell you, it's absolutely this way. There's a reason the running game is better in the second half of the season because you stuck with it. There's a reason it's better later in the game because you stuck with it. To go to the boxing analogy, those were body blows you landed earlier. Now later in the match, the body gets tired, the hands come down a little bit to protect the body, and now you can finish them off. Okay, well that might be true. Maybe that is part of the reason, for everyone saying, oh man, then they're sticking with the run too long. Yeah, are you? Or is that part of the manifestation of the points of the second half? I don't think there's a clear, concrete answer to that. I don't think there's a scientific formula where you say, oh yes, that's absolutely the run, but I don't think it can be dismissed either. That you land some blows early, you get the running game going. Play action pass is part of this offense and part of something that Russell Wilson does well. So I agree, but even in its own right, perhaps this running game, which took a couple of weeks longer last year to get going, is going now. And think about two guys, 5 different offensive line combinations that the Steelers have used. And to still be able to get over 100 yards in back-to-back weeks for Najee and to get the running game going really well in back-to-back weeks when teams knew you wanted to run the ball, I think that says something about everything. It says something about the offensive line. It says something about Arthur Smith, and it certainly says something about Najee Harris.
Yeah, I wanted to expand on the O-line conversation a little bit. Like, I thought the first half was rough. That they were getting the short. They weren't winning that battle for the majority of the first half, but they stuck with it, and I thought it improved. I didn't think it was ever going to be the best line in the league as currently constructed, and that's a good group. Quinn Williams is a force, and McDonald off the edge, but I did think it got better as the night went on.
I agree with that, and I think it's yes, I'm right, and you have to ask about that too. Now, this is the unit, and again, there's no scientific way to answer this. Is the unit, did it take a half a football to gel? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think any of us can possibly know the answer to that. It's probably like everything else, a little bit of everything, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of Russ getting more comfortable, being more effective. Quinn Williams is a force, and that Steelers O-line in the middle, they're going to have to deal with. I mean, Dexter Lawrence has 9 sacks, has a nose tackle. Think about it.
This might be the best pass rushing team in the league on the agenda coming up.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, that's right. And I think Dan Moore has been really good. But they got guys on both sides. They got a guy up the middle. This is going to be a big test for them. But, yeah, I think that the offensive line got better as the game wore on. I think Dan Moore, people have been, paying a little more attention to his game. I think he's really had himself a very, very solid season. These young guys are getting some time. They're getting some exposure. This is the kind of game, you'd love to have Zach Frazier back. This is the kind of game he's built for. As was the Jets game, going against these troublesome characters in the middle. But I don't think I'm not sure he's going to be back. I don't think we don't know for sure. Maybe after the bye, they did call him week to week, but they'll continue to be
put him on
challenged.
IR,
They'll
though.
continue. No, that is good. That no doubt about it. He could be back, but these are the challenges this group has risen to. I mean, how many times did we sit up in Latrobe and watch the group and think, man, what an incredible, deep group of offensive line. And now you're like, man, I hope nobody else gets hurt because you can only have so many of those guys. But, I thought they settled in. And, again, why? Again, maybe it is continuity. Maybe it is success. Maybe it is a little bit of some of those things.
Our guest has been Rob King, Steelers play-by-play announcer. Steelers off to a 5-2 start coming off of last night's 37-15 win over the New York Football Jets, a game in which they were underdogs by 3 points by the time the game kicked off. And, that didn't quite turn out that way. But, Rob, we got to get going here. We'll let you go. We'll see you down at the facility there sometime this upcoming week, I'm sure. If not, we'll definitely see you on Thursday.
Yep.
We do our show for Steelers.com. If you haven't checked out the matchup on Steelers.com, you need to do that. But he is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can listen to The Drive every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on Steelers Nation Radio. And also download the Steelers mobile app, and the show will be available to you right on there. And you can watch it on YouTube as well. And please leave your comments. I will answer any questions on there. If you just want to call us idiots or whatever,
feel free.
Have at it. I might reply to those too. But, whatever. It's all good. Matt, looking here at FTN Fantasy in their DVOA stats, at 5-2, the Steelers' mean wins for the season is now 9.8.
Seems low.
Seems low.
Yeah.
The Ravens right now are 4-2 going into tonight's game. Their mean wins is 11.9.
Okay. I do know Steelers' remaining schedule's considered by any metric one of the 5 most difficult.
Not anymore. Not like it was.
I was looking at
because the Browns now stink.
Browns are bad, right? That's changed. I think
Cincinnati's still
Eagles
underwater.
Aren't that impressive to me.
The Eagles are not very good. You get the Giants coming up, who aren't very good.
Yeah. I was looking at Pro Football Focuses today. They had them 3rd hardest remaining schedule.
I mean, when I looked at the DVOA stuff last week, it was like 14th.
Okay.
Now that
makes more sense.
That also included the game against the Jets this past week.
Okay. But, they were a 2-win team, too.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That pulled your, and their DVOA wasn't great.
Right. Even the Bengals win doesn't make me think they're better than I thought they were, by the way. That's a side note.
Yeah. They still got some issues.
Oh, they got issues.
Yeah.
No, but that seems low on the mean projection.
It seems low, but their chances to make the playoffs, 72.8%.
Okay. Is that 5-2, or is that their?
That's at 5-2.
Okay, yeah.
The Ravens right now are at 95.3%. You got Buffalo at 96.8%. Houston at 95.1%, and Kansas City at 99.4%. So right now, as things stand, the Steelers have the fifth best chance to make the playoffs according to their metrics.
I think the north side, the division winners are pretty clear in the other three divisions. I mean, something crazy could change.
Something
Season.
would have to happen.
Right,
but right now Buffalo's got essentially a 3-game lead.
Yeah, like I don't think you make much money if you're betting on Buffalo, Houston, or Kansas City to win their division.
Houston's only up 1 game though after the loss yesterday.
I was just say, I think they play Indy next week. If they lose that one, they're trying to fight through some things too.
Yeah,
that they kind of need to win that one to keep that.
Give themselves a cushion.
Right, to keep what
they
said
did beat Indy earlier this year already, but you can't split that.
No. Their offense hasn't played great.
Yeah.
I mean, and some of it's Nico being out. For a while there, they couldn't run the ball, but then they could run the ball. Offensive line's been real hit or miss, to be honest with you. I mean, Diggs caught like 5 or 6 balls for like 27 yards yesterday.
I think they threw for like 98 yards.
It's really low.
I mean, it was ridiculous. So that division, do I think Indianapolis can win it?
I just don't think the other three are good.
So. Yeah, I don't think so. But right now, Houston's mean wins is 11.3, which seems like it might be a little high.
Yeah, it seems a little high. I think they got more issues than that. Like don't think I'd be shocked if they're a 12-win team.
Kansas City's at 13.8. That's the best in the AFC.
No, they're undefeated.
Yeah. Then you got Baltimore at 11.9, Buffalo at 11.6, and the Steelers at 9.8. 9.8 might even seem low to me. Do we think
I think they'll get to double digits.
Yeah. Do we think the Steelers are only going to win 5 more games, or they might struggle to get to 5 more wins?
I don't feel that way.
I don't feel that way either.
I strongly think that they're a double-digit win team.
Yeah.
Maybe 11, maybe 12.
I mean, I mentioned the point differential. They're right behind Buffalo in point differential in terms of for second in the AFC, and that's not going to change tonight.
Right, and they have 6 division games left. Do we really think they're going to go 0-6?
No.
I mean, Steelers could be winless right now. I'd say they won't go 0-6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They were 5-1 in the division last year.
Right. They do well against those teams. I mean, they do. They play Baltimore better than anyone. Frankly, I would have rather had 2 games against the Browns
earlier
played by now than they might get harder to play against with the quarterback change. They don't have Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they still have their issues, too. They're terrible. But at least kind of ding-dong, the witch is dead, at least, in there a little bit. They're at least different. I mean, there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's dangerous, and they could end up in the playoffs, but I don't think they're great.
No, I mean, in any given week, Burrow could go off, but their defense is a problem.
It is. And I think the line is okay.
Yeah.
Running game's okay, And I don't think Burrow's 100%.
I don't think he is either. So, I mean, this is why when Mike Tomlin talked about we want to be great, not good. You look at it, the Steelers are right there with some of the best teams in the AFC in terms of record for sure.
Yeah.
But are they that different from Buffalo? Are they that different from Houston? Are they that different from Baltimore, who they've beaten 7 of the last 8 times they played? I know Kansas City's, a different animal, but if you look at it, the Steelers have scored more points this season than the Chiefs.
That doesn't surprise me.
After 7 weeks, and they've given up fewer points.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. We'll do power ranks tomorrow, but I would bet that I'd have them in my top 10. Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a puncher's chance of beating anybody on a given day.
I agree.
As currently constructed.
I agree.
And once they get some of the offensive linemen back, that's the great thing about this is you're going to get Cam Sutton back coming out of the bye week. You're probably going to get Zach Frazier back coming out of the bye week. We'll see about some of the other. Dylan Cook might not sound like a big thing, but you're going to get him back coming out of the.
It'd be
certainly
nice
out of the
insurance
bye.
too. Did they lose anyone yesterday?
Nothing long term.
Nothing long term,
Yeah.
because the coverage was pretty rough on injury information. I knew Jackson was in out of the lineup. Adams got injured early, and then I didn't know that till today. I mean, I just noticed he wasn't out there, but no one ever told me if he was injured. But so nothing that's taken him a big step backwards in that regard either.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
And when you look around the league at some of the injuries that did happen this weekend, like
There's a ton.
yeah. So you avoided that another week. Knock on Formica, but
Sure.
You just keep winning games, stacking wins, and see where it goes.
If you get one more and going into the bye, you're really,
6-2
really in good
going
shape.
into the bye. You're in great shape.
Really good shape. And the other thing is they only have one conference loss. They haven't played in division games yet, but they're 4-1 in the conference.
And I can't harp on this one enough, Matt, too, is that they're 3-1 on the road.
Yeah.
You basically played half of your road schedule already. Now you play 9 this year.
Yeah.
But still, you've shown the ability to go win on the road. And, that's not easy to do in the NFL.
No, and they'll be well equipped to win their road division games, which is 3 of the remaining 5. You know, I mean, they've done that every year.
Absolutely. So, but let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is kicking off hour number 2 of the drive here on Steelers Nation Radio. And as we do the kickoff hour number 2, it's time to take a look at the Fantasy Football Focus, and we'll take a look at this week's top performers. And Matt, only one 300-yard passer this week.
It was the week of the running back.
Yeah.
The big running back week.
Josh Allen, 21 of 33 for 323 yards, 2 touchdowns in that game against the Tennessee Titans. They were down for a long portion of that game.
Right.
And came back and won. Jared Goff had 280 and 2 touchdowns.
Played really well.
Drake May, 276 and 2 touchdowns. He makes some throws, but he doesn't pass the eye test to me.
Oh, I love him.
We're going to disagree on that one.
He has nothing around him. I think.
Oh, I understand that, but he just still makes some throws. I'm like, where was he trying to go with that?
Oh, there's some of those for sure. But for fantasy, I think he's a great asset.
For fantasy, I have no problem with him.
I would love to build a team around him. I like him a lot.
Aaron Rodgers, 276, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He did not play well.
No, I didn't think so either.
The 6 passes that he threw to Breece Hall traveled about a total of 15 yards. Mm-hmm. And Breece Hall did everything.
Yeah,
outside of that, there were no.
He missed some. He missed some ones he usually doesn't miss, and there weren't many wow throws. He usually has a couple wow throws. I didn't see hardly any of those.
Yeah, didn't see that. Russell Wilson actually 5th, 264 and 2 touchdowns, just ahead of Sam Darnold. Kirk Cousins, some of these guys didn't play well. Jordan Love did it again. Only 220 yards, but 3 more touchdown passes.
Yeah, he throws the ball in the end zone, and he's got good receivers, and he's a heck of a talent, too.
In fact, those 3 touchdown passes were the high for the week.
Okay.
Nobody else had more than 2. So it wasn't a big passing weekend in the NFL.
And it wasn't like there was a ton of weather or anything like that.
No.
Right.
You mentioned the running backs, but there were only 6 that had a 100-yard game.
Okay.
That was Saquon Barkley, 176 and a touchdown. Tank Bigsby, 118 and 2 scores. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 for 116 and 2 scores. It was the big day for running backs getting a couple of touchdowns. There's a bunch of those.
I'd say there's a lot of fantasy points. Maybe there wasn't a lot of running back yardage.
Joe Mixon, 25 for 115 and 2 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, 21 for 103 and a touchdown. Najee Harris, 21 for 102 and the touchdown. Mm-hmm. Those guys that scored multiple touchdowns were Javonte Williams had 2.
Oh, yeah.
Kareem Hunt had 2. He only averaged 3.5 yards a carry, though.
Yeah, it wasn't easy going.
You also had Kyron Williams with 2.
Okay.
So
yeah, but I mean, there were a lot of the higher drafted guys and people we invested in, and it was a good running back week for fantasy for sure.
Yeah. Looking at the receivers, well, if there weren't a lot of 100-yard or 300-yard passers, there probably weren't a lot of 100-yard receivers, and there were only 4.
Only 4?
Keon Coleman, 4 for 125. Nobody saw that one coming.
No, absolutely. Cooper played, but not every snap.
He scored a touchdown, too.
They threw it to him when he was out there, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be fine.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 for 112 and a touchdown.
He's back to being a star, consistent.
George Pickens, 5 for 111 and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what Wilson does for the Steelers offense. This unlocks Pickens. This is what I expect to see. Maybe not 5 for 111 and a touchdown every week.
But I think 5's the floor.
5's the floor, and if he catches 5 passes, I mean, he's averaging 15 yards a catch.
Yeah.
So do the math.
Yeah, right.
5 for 75 might be your floor moving forward.
I mean, fantasy owners should be happy about the quarterback change.
Absolutely.
If you own Pickens.
And immediately is like he got two end zone touchdown.
That's how they're throwing the ball in the end zone to him.
At least 2 that I can remember that were targeted. It might have been 3 targets in the end zone in this game.
Right.
And that's what you want to see. You want to give that guy a chance to catch the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, they were perfect in the red zone. They were throwing the ball over the stripe. I mean, I think that's things you get time to get used to.
Breece Hall was the other one, 6 for 103. So 2 of the 100-yard receivers in the same game.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it on one play on him.
Yeah.
But he's back for fantasy, too. They're featuring him a lot.
Yeah. DK Metcalf just missed 4 for 99 in the touchdown. Got the knee banged up.
Did you hear injury news today?
It's nothing long term.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see if he's back this week, but I think that was more getting a contusion more than anything else. Okay. Terry McLaurin, 6 for 98. Didn't score, but 6 for 98 you like.
From Mariota.
Yeah. Your guy, Jonnu Smith, 7 for 96 and a touchdown.
Yeah, I thought about him a little yesterday. I'm not running to the waiver wire for him or anything, but Tua's practicing, and it sounds like that offense has a chance to get better.
It can't be much worse.
It's really bad, yeah.
Yeah. Romeo Dobbs, 8 for 94. Didn't score, but
those Packer receivers are tough, man. Who's it going to be each week?
Brock Bowers, 10 for 93. Didn't score, but he's now the NFL's leading receptions.
One of the games I watched the least of, but I'm sure they're throwing it to him like they always do at the line of scrimmage, a couple yards down.
He's been extremely efficient. I think I was looking. He has
targets are all that matter.
He has like 47 catches on like 55 targets.
That sounds, I bet it's a real low average depth of target still, and they're getting it to him a lot.
But he's averaging 10 yards a catch.
Yeah,
so
good after the catch. Right? That's all they got.
Hunter Henry, 8 for 92. You believing in that?
Yeah, I am. They're going to throw the ball a lot. He's been pretty solid the last year or so.
George Kittle, 6 for 92. Kansas City's kind of been a tight end funnel a little bit. They've struggled against tight ends this season.
I didn't know that, but
it's the one thing that they have struggled against defensively.
Ayuk's out for the year.
Yeah.
Debo was sick in this game, and he looked terrible, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't want what he has. But I think Ayuk being out helps Kittle for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's top 3 or 4 rest of the way tight end.
Well, and you're going to also see Juwan Jennings.
Oh, yeah.
If you picked him up a few weeks ago when he had the big monster game that nobody expected, and you held on to him.
I'd say a lot of people probably cut him since then.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, if that's the case, he'll be the number 1 waiver wire pickup this week.
I would think. Do you have any interest in Pearsall?
Not really.
Just because I like the player coming out, I'd have to see a game or two.
I mean, he had 1 catch for 6 yards.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know what his snap count is.
It's almost like the Roman Wilson argument. Like, you're trying to get on a moving train.
Yeah.
Like, that's tough.
It's real tough.
Now, he may have more opportunities because of the injuries, but
right.
He was also a first-round pick, and Roman Wilson was a third.
Yeah. If the Steelers had a couple receiver injuries ahead of Roman, he'd have more opportunities.
He'd have opportunity, yeah. A.J. Brown, 5 for 89 in a score.
He's a legit number 1 type guy.
Brian Thomas, 5 for 89 in a score.
Star.
T. Higgins, 4 for 82 in a score. He's quietly
having a pretty good year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year was a lot of injuries. This year, I think he's T. Higgins, which is a really good player. And
teams are really working hard to take Chase out of the game and make Higgins beat them. And okay,
we know how this league works. I mean, and then Higgins will have a slow day and Chase will blow up when they start balancing things out. Or they're hard to play against in passing game.
Cedric Tillman in Cleveland had 8 for 81.
I liked him coming out of school. Cooper's gone. He plays the same position as
Jerry
Cooper,
Jeudy was an afterthought in their passing
Elijah Moore
game.
doesn't count anymore. I mean, somebody has to catch
Tillman
passes.
might be the guy.
Yeah, I think it's good for Njoku, who's been pretty consistent. I think it's good for Tillman. Might be early to pick him up now. I assume Jameis is the starter from here on.
Well, I think you pick him up now, and of all the guys,
people for him.
You don't want to wait too long.
Mm-hmm. He did nothing as a rookie. He done nothing until really yesterday. But I like the player coming out.
Justin Jefferson had 7 for 81 in the touchdown. You mentioned Njoku. He had 10 for 76 in a touchdown.
Okay, another volume guy at tight end.
Long gain of 15 yards, so it was a lot of
Usually
Brock
he's
Bowers
good after
stuff.
the catch.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Jalen Naylor from Minnesota, 4 for 76. He's not going away.
Is Addison out?
No.
I didn't think so. I mean, yeah. Okay.
That was kind of a shootout type game.
Yeah.
And,
he's their number 3. I don't love Addison.
Amari Cooper, 4 for 66 in the score.
You'll take that for him being like 50% snap count guy.
Noah Gray in Kansas City, 4 for 66. Out caught Kelsey.
I wonder if he took over the Juju stuff.
Maybe, because, Juju's
got
a hamstring.
Juju in our league.
He's going to be out again this week.
Yeah.
They've already said that.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder how that went. I need to dig more into how that affected the pecking order.
But it's interesting for sure.
They play a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets.
Yeah. Jordan Addison had 3 for 66, so it's not like he didn't do anything in that game.
A lot of points in that game, too.
Kyle Pitts had 7 for 65. I think in the last 3 games he has 17 catches.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Is he back being
He's
top 10?
12. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I mean,
because what you want the consistency. Like
that's always been an issue with him.
Of the top 10 tight ends this week, and we just gone through this list, and there's a bunch of tight ends on the list here.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of scoring this week, what's his face from Conklin ended up as a top 10 point producer this week in fantasy football.
But he caught a touchdown.
4 catches for 7 yards and a touchdown.
For 7 yards.
4 catches for 7 yards and a touchdown.
Tight end landscape
got you into
brutal.
a top 10 tight end finish.
Yeah. Kelsey was not.
Kelsey was not.
Right.
We'll see about Andrews and some of these other guys tonight, but McBride's playing tonight.
I'd say McBride's. I'm trying to think. There's some good ones tonight. I mean, McBride would be rival my top ones going forward. Bowers is definitely near the top of the list. I think Kelsey still is. Who's the guys you really want that are top 5 type dudes? And they're still going to have down weeks.
It's bleak.
It is bleak.
Khalil Shakir had 7 for 65.
Did he? Okay.
So he was.
He's just a good player. I don't think his role changes.
He's the slot.
Yeah, he's a slot, and they trust him. He can beat man coverage too. Cooper's there to elevate him and take some pressure off of him.
And make their passing game again, much like with the Steelers with Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
They went out. The Bills went out and acquired Amari Cooper because their guys weren't getting open.
No.
They had to unlock. Yeah. They had to unlock the passing game a little bit,
and it showed
and
up
it worked.
With that one.
Yeah,
Allen was the only 300 passer, and they didn't have to rely on the pass entirely. I think their offense is not one of the best in the league.
Yeah, Noah Fant had 4 for 65.
Geno was on fire in this game.
Yeah,
he's been good all year, but he was really, really good in this game.
Drake London 6 for 63. That's kind of like his normal stat, and a
floor,
touchdown.
If not anything, right? He's solid.
He's been really good. Pittman 3 for 63.
I know. I think Downs had 1 catch for 9 yards too. I mean, like the good receivers can't give them the football.
How about this one, Matt? Jatavian Sanders 6 for 61. You believing in that one?
I mean, if you try to think like the Panthers think.
You got to play him the rest of the year.
You got to play him. Bryce Young came at the end of the game. Might we see more of him? That would be terrible. But I'm just saying, like, I'm probably going to play Brooks a little bit when he comes back. Like, you got to play young guys across the board on that team.
Absolutely. I think I'm with you 100% on that because where are you going this year?
We're nowhere.
And you got to find out about Bryce Young. Now, you've given Andy Dalton a shot. Mm-hmm. All right, it gave you a shot in the arm offensively for a few weeks.
Professional outing,
You allowed Young to sit and watch, and okay, now you've had a month of him sitting and watching. Did he learn anything?
Did he learn anything? And the offense now has a little bit more confidence, and they have a little bit of a running game and all those good things.
Look, if you throw the ball to Deontay Johnson, some good things might happen. I
think they lost 40-7 yesterday, though.
They did lose 40-7 yesterday. That they did.
Quick fantasy note, in our league, like if you told me yesterday Washington wins this game 40-7, I would have thought my starting quarterback Jalen Daniels would have had more than 5 points. But
there was that's been
all the points are left on the table.
It's been fantasy football this year. So if you started a lineup this weekend,
everybody gets injured early.
Yeah,
you get zeros left and right.
If you started a lineup that included Deebo Samuel,
right,
Tank Dell,
Juju got me a 0. He got hurt in the first.
DeAndre Hopkins,
yeah.
And I could see somebody putting a lineup. Send me the lineup because I guarantee you there's somebody out there that had Deebo Samuel as their number 1 receiver and Tank Dell as their number 2, and maybe Juju was in their lineup as their 3.
Yeah.
And you took a 0 across the board at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, and maybe you had Kelsey and Jaden Daniels, and you've been winning games.
There was one somebody tweeted it out last week where somebody started a lineup that had legit dudes in it.
Yeah, like it's not a bad. Like their win probability before kickoff was probably good,
They scored 7 fantasy points. 7. I mean, it's unbelievable. Some of the stuff that's happening this year, and it's affected our DFS lineups every week.
Like my main line, my main league, he started Stroud and Dell, and I'm like, oh man, I might be in trouble. No. Stroud had like 4 points, Dell had 0.
Our DFS lineup, Matt. Oh, good Lord. I wish we'd have known on Friday that Cooper Kupp wasn't going to play because we would not have
changed.
We would not have started Matthew Stafford.
No, I forget who he had in the lineup first.
He had 4.96 points. Now, we still have J.K. Dobbins and Chris Godwin going tonight. So there's still a chance
I think both of them do well.
that we could, but right now we've got 48 points. 44.96 points.
Ugh.
They would both have to score like 30 each, and that would still only get us.
But they'll still get lucky.
Yeah, we'd have to. Things would have to go, but it wasn't a high point week.
No, it wasn't.
So that possibility is there.
Like 100 points in most leagues wins it, pretty easily this week.
This week, yeah. Jaylen Warren got a 7.9 points. He was only 2.6% owned, but I did like the usage.
I do too.
And he got a goal line. He got a
goal
goal line carry.
Mm-hmm.
So there. Again, I think that there'll be more passes coming his way. Rush for 44. He actually outrushed Breece Hall in that game.
Yeah.
So I think that's only going to get better. As I mentioned, we got Godwin going tonight. Tank Dell, we took a 0.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't happen.
No, I mean, just in the real world, you don't have Nico, who's really been maybe the best receiver in the league this year, close, give or take. But that can't be your only reason for struggling on offense as much as they got too many other good dudes. And you go into Green Bay, and Diggs and Dell, they ended up like 27 yards between them.
Yeah. Dalton Schultz had one catch for 28 yards. That was their leading receiver.
He was the leading receiver? Okay.
Yeah.
So I knew Diggs was in the 25-ish neighborhood, right? And he had like 6 catches.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Jackson, Smith, and Jigba got off to a good start in that game. Actually threw a 35-yard pass.
Yeah.
But 5.3 points.
And so it was Metcalf and Fant doing most of the damage. I don't think Lockett did a lot either.
Lockett was injured going into that game. Sam Laporta is unstartable at this point.
Yeah, it's brutal. He's like the poster boy of tight end you drafted high that you're mad at this year,
Yeah. One catch for 25 yards, and he looked good doing it.
He looks
they
fine.
just don't throw the ball to him.
No, they have so many weapons, and they run the ball. They're never going to be a super high pass percentage team. Williams takes some big plays away. There was a little bit of a warning sign, though, with Laporta last year. Like, he caught an unusual number
very
of
touchdown,
touchdowns.
very touchdown dependent.
It's really hard to duplicate.
But the other numbers weren't like
he looked good.
He's not even catching passes now, though.
No, right.
They're not even throwing him passes now.
I know. It's weird.
It's crazy.
Because he's a good football player.
Brock Bowers is the exact opposite. They are throwing him. We had him in the lineup, as did 16.8% of the other teams in this league. He got us 19.3 points. So basically half of our points
he's the only one who's worth
come
the
from
money.
one guy. Yeah, and he's only
Warren.
5,800. That's probably as cheap as we'll get him the rest of the year.
Yeah, I bet he's tight end 2, 3, 1, something like that. He's upcoming weeks.
The Giants' defense at 2,500 they got us 4 points. They had 5 sacks. They gave up way too many points because their offense did nothing.
Well, there was 11 sacks in that game.
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna hear the word sack a lot in the next couple of days, folks.
Yeah, I did start the lineup I started myself is in the money right now with 2 players left to play. I'm sitting this shows you how low of a scoring week it was. I've got 87.9 points right now with 2 guys left to play, and I'm in the money.
Okay.
In fact, I'm in 78th place, and the one that I'm in.
It almost seems like lately the whole key is just don't get a 0.
Don't take a 0.
Which of course nobody knows going in, but these guys that get hurt walking in,
So I started Mason Rudolph at quarterback.
We considered him because he was super cheap, right?
We didn't we didn't know he was starting yet.
Yeah, we texted each other.
He had 11.9 points. He had twice as many points as Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
I also started
just unusually low.
I also started Jaylen Warren. That was a 7.9. I started Tony Pollard.
Only show in town.
Yeah, only show in town. 8.5 points. It wasn't great. He had 61 rushing yards, but only 2 catches for 4 yards. That kind of stunk.
Mm-hmm.
I still have Chris Godwin and Zay Flowers going tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So I should finish in the money.
I would think. I'd be shocked if they both have low nights.
And they were 7,100 and 6,600. I started Metcalf, 19.9 points. Only 7.4% ownership. I was kind of surprised with that because I thought that game was going to be a shootout.
Yeah, I just remember picking through the receivers, though. There was a lot to like.
Yeah. Well, apparently not.
Well, we didn't hit on them, but there was a lot we liked.
I started Kyle Pitts at the tight end position, $4,500.
I said, what does he cost?
13.5 points.
Oh, you definitely got your money out of that.
Yeah, no doubt. I also started Kittle in the flex. It's 6,000, 15.2 points. So that worked out okay.
He caught a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started the Vikings defense at $2,900.
It's a great defense just against a.
They scored a defensive touchdown. They had 4 sacks, a fumble recovery.
They're a top 3 defense going forward.
Yeah, and their schedule moving forward. I picked them up in our league.
Yeah,
and
it's all the teams you want to play.
It's everybody that you want to play over like the next 6 weeks, and they've already had their bye.
They've already played like the Niners in Houston and Packers.
Like I've been streaming defenses all year long. I'm not streaming anymore. I'll just hold on to them the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the ones.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the ones.
So why not? So that one should finish in the money. I need to start taking some of this over into the one that I suggest to people.
Zeros are killing us.
Zeros are just, you can't do it. You can't, if you just can't do it.
In my 2 leagues, I've taken, it seems like every week I have one in each league. It's like, man.
But right now, the leader in points in both of the contests that we're in, or the one that I'm in and the one that we were, is 136.84 points.
That's low, right?
It's probably the same.
Still 4 teams.
It's probably the same person, but because it's just too weird for it to be 136.84 points for both of them. But that's really low. Usually, the winner for a week is like 100 in the 170s.
That's what I thought.
In that range.
I mean, there's 4 teams still to go, but still,
yeah.
If you're leading, you probably have the majority of you guys already played.
Probably, if you had 136.84 points this particular week, you're probably done.
You're in good shape.
Yeah, you're probably done though.
Oh, you're probably right.
Yeah,
because there's not that many to go around.
It's just it's a rough fantasy week.
It was, and there were some big games by some running backs. That Barkley and some of those guys went.
But you had to pay up big time to get Barkley.
Yeah,
big time.
I wasn't even thinking DFS. I was saying if you had a good strong backfield and maybe you took a 0 somewhere else, you could
overcome it.
Yeah, maybe
you could overcome it, but you can't overcome it in DFS. You just can't.
No.
Not unless you just paid down you threw somebody in the lineup for $2,000.
They caught a touchdown or something.
Yeah. Or you take that 0.
Oh,
but
that's your 0. Yeah.
You pay up for everybody else and go get Justin Jefferson and
they all are worth it.
Saquon Barkley and just roll that way.
Yeah.
We might want to try that because yuck. I mean, it's like 3 weeks in a row now we've had somebody in our lineup take a 0.
0, right?
Just can't win that
Brutal.
way. Just can't win.
And Stafford was almost like that because of the Cup situation.
Yeah, he's not throwing touchdown passes.
They run the ball a lot. They played a bad team.
Yeah, they played a bad team and scored 20 points. Yeah, so ugly. Anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. I swear to God, if you're a new listener to this show, our DFS lineups probably hit 14 of the 18 weeks last year.
Tyler's over there like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I've been here every week.
We're much better at this.
Right.
Again, the lineup that I've put together every week, I think I've hit in every week but one.
Yeah. I mean, we've done this for several years, and we always made money. I mean, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's just this year's been a rough one.
Partners too.
Yeah, this one's been a rough one. But anyways, let's get to a break. He is Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, Steelers winning 37-15 on Sunday against the New York Jets. And a lot of people, you saw a lot of stuff going into the week after they acquired Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Is this the best skill position group in the league?
I said it was. I still think it is.
But I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is 5 years ago, if Aaron Rodgers had those pass catchers and that running back, I'd be like, ooh, that's dangerous. He's not that guy anymore.
No. I've seen a lot of flashes from this year that are really impressive.
But more bad throws.
But there's so many more bad than usual for him, which is still maybe less than Joe Average starter. I don't think he's Joe Average starter right now. But he doesn't want to hold the football. I mean, I don't think he trusts his protection all that much. And it was decent yesterday, but the ball came out so quick. I think they're going to be a Breece Hall-centric team. And you hate to say it, but I felt like that was close to a must-win for them. Like, could the Adams trade be all for nothing? And
they went out and signed, made a deal to agree to terms with the edge rusher.
Reddick will be back practicing again this week.
So he'll play next week.
Yeah.
The owner, Woody Johnson, is at the owners' meetings on Tuesday saying, we're going to kick the rest of the way.
Hey, 2 wins.
You got 2 wins, and now you're 2-5. You made this big
half.
splash play. You went and got Aaron Rodgers, his whoopee, and he was 3 of 9 throwing to Devontae Adams.
Yeah. I don't know. There was part of me that thought You win this game in Pittsburgh, which wouldn't have been easy. Looking at it from their perspective, you could get back in the race in the AFC. I don't think their upcoming schedule's super hard. I think they get New England this week. I looked at it and wasn't blown away by it.
They look like a tired team.
But they look old and tired, which is what we said all summer. That like Tyron Smith looks really stiff, and like those older dudes just are hanging on. It's a weird team build.
Yeah,
and you lost your head coach.
Elijah Vera Tucker got hurt in that game.
Yeah,
did
one
not
of their
return.
better offensive linemen.
They were already without two of the top cornerbacks. I mean, they took some major. Playing the Steelers beats you up.
It does
physically.
It absolutely does. Do you think the Jets are out of the playoff mix?
Yes.
2-5, right?
2-5.
Yeah, I mean
it's definitely an uphill climb.
I like Cincy's chances better.
Yeah, and since he's 3-4 now, so they're in a little better situation.
You like the Colts' chances better?
Is Flacco playing?
I doubt it.
I mean, I don't know what there's.
Miami if Tua plays this week.
Miami,
I think
Miami and the Jets are kind of in a similar spot right now.
Right.
But at least Miami's already had their bye, so they're only 2-4.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 4 losses right now, where the Jets are 2-5, and they're 2-3 in conference. That's the big. Both teams are actually 2-3
It wasn't like Miami
in
played great, but that was at least a winnable game that they. Considering their opponent, that was a tough loss, and the Jets' loss was maybe a critical loss.
And here's the thing about the AFC: you start looking at conference records.
Right, Steelers are 4-1.
Buffalo's 4-2 in the conference. The Steelers are 4-1. The Ravens are 2-2 in the conference.
Yeah.
Houston is 4-0. Indianapolis is now 3-2, and Kansas City's 3-0. Those are the only teams in the conference. So you're looking at Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Houston, Indianapolis, and Kansas City are the only teams in the conference who have winning records.
What's the Jets' conference record?
2-3.
They got nothing going for them, really.
Yeah, the Bengals are 1-3.
I know. They had some tough losses.
Yeah. You're looking at Jacksonville. You think Jacksonville can turn it back? They're 2-4 in the conference. Probably not. I mean, the Chargers and Broncos are both 2-2. The Raiders are 2-3.
Chargers win tonight could go a long way for their chances.
They would be sitting pretty.
Yeah.
And I didn't think they were a playoff team, but the schedule's not super hard.
That's what I say. Their schedule's not bad. And I thought they were a year away from being a playoff team, and I still think they probably are.
But in what the AFC is right now?
I thought the Browns would be competitive. I thought Miami would be better. I thought the Jets would be better. I thought the Jags would be better. Like most teams.
Listen to what we're saying, though.
I know.
The teams that you just mentioned
are
all the teams that you should never trust.
Oh, it's always like that. Browns, Jets, Jags. Right. Absolutely.
I mean, who trusts those teams?
In history.
Right.
Since they've been established, right?
Yeah, you just can't trust those franchises. Mm-hmm. Not that you can really trust the Chargers.
No.
It's more trusting Harbaugh at this point.
Yes,
but they could go lose to the Cardinals tonight, and I wouldn't be shocked.
Oh no, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I'll pick them to win.
I'll pick them to win too. Yeah, but
won the ball and all that, but I don't think they're great.
No, I mean, so the AFC again. I think
the AFC is just weaker than I expected.
I think right now there are 5 good teams in the AFC.
The division leaders, Steelers,
and the Steelers,
Ravens, yeah, good teams, yes,
good teams,
yeah.
And then the other one, I think those 5 teams, and you could put Kansas City, or you could put Baltimore on a tier of their own. I don't know, however you want to do that, but I think, and maybe even Buffalo now that they got Amari Cooper. But I think the Steelers are in that.
They're in the top 5 tier.
Yeah,
who's 6? Maybe the Chargers.
And
again, it's kind of by default.
Yeah, I mean that's a team the Steelers handled pretty easily.
I'm not willing to say Denver.
No,
or maybe
Cincy, but they've got major flaws.
A month from now, I might say the Jets or Miami, but they have a lot of digging to do.
Again,
their quarterbacks have to be stars.
Are things going to get better for those old guys? Well, here's what they got. They got the Patriots.
Yeah.
Then they play the Texans.
Okay.
They're at Arizona. Then they got the Colts, Seahawks, at the Dolphins, at the Jaguars, Rams, who should have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back by that point, at the Bills, and the Dolphins at home.
It's not awful, but they have to play better.
But there's probably can I count 3 losses there at least?
Oh, probably, yeah.
They're not beating the Texans playing the way they are right now.
No, I mean there's a handful. I mean some of those games are too far along to speculate, but. if they played today, they wouldn't be favored over all those teams. There'd be 2 or 3 that'd be.
Well, they're
dogs.
not going to be favored against the Texans.
No.
They're not going to be favored against the Bills in Buffalo.
No.
They're not going to be favored against the Dolphins in Miami.
Assuming 2 is back, I would no.
They're going to be favored against the Seahawks.
Not if they played today.
So I mean, that would be 4 losses right there.
Mm-hmm.
Just losing the games that's 9 losses.
Big thing I said about the Jets too, which is a total opposite of what happened, was I thought they would start the season real strong, and fade. You know what I mean? Just age, injuries just start showing up, lack of depth, and then when you get off to a bad start,
It's hard to dig out of that.
Yeah. One of these teams we're writing off though will emerge. You know?
Well, the Bengals right now, they got a big game against the Eagles.
Eagles aren't playing great either.
But it's a big game for both teams.
Mm-hmm. Eagles aren't guaranteed anything.
No. But that game is in Cincinnati. They got to win that one. Then they get the Raiders.
Okay.
Then they're at the Ravens.
Yeah.
Then they're at the Chargers.
That's a tough team to play against.
Then they get the Steelers.
Sounds like they better win their next 2.
Then they're at Dallas, who by that point should have Micah Parsons back.
Yeah, you would think.
At the Titans, Browns at home, against the Broncos, and then at the Steelers. How many games are they favored in the rest of the way? The Eagles games at home, I haven't looked at any of the lines yet. That's probably,
I would say it's pretty close.
Cincinnati by a point or 2. Yeah, somewhere
like
in that range. They'll be favored against the Raiders. They're not going to be favored in Baltimore.
No.
Probably not favored in L.A. against the Chargers. That might be a pick'em game.
Tough one. If they played right now.
If they played right now, the Chargers might run for 300 yards.
Yeah. I'd say I would pick the Chargers head-to-head right now.
Yeah. Steelers at home. We'll see.
It's not going to be a huge spread.
Yeah. At Dallas, they're not going to be favored.
Probably not, but Dallas is kind of like the Eagles to me. They got problems.
I mean, I hear you. At the Titans, Browns at home, Broncos at home, at the Steelers.
Mm-hmm. And where are they sitting right now?
3 and 4.
So they need to win 7.
Yeah.
They can.
They're capable.
Yeah.
But they can't withstand any more injuries. And like Orlando Brown is now out with a calf injury this week. That's huge for them.
It's huge because you can't lose both tackles.
No. Yeah, they just you got to be able to protect Burrow a little bit to be able to throw the football.
As we talk through this, I think a 9-win team ends up getting in the AFC.
I do too. It's going to come down to those tiebreakers. Here's what the Chargers have left. At the Cardinals tonight.
I think it's pretty favorable.
They get the Saints next week with Rattler.
Right.
At the Browns. Titans at home.
Yeah, I think it's like the easiest schedule remaining.
The Bengals at home. The Ravens at home. At the Falcons. At the Chiefs. Buccaneers. So it gets much tougher.
Yeah, the bottom.
That's a 4-game stretch where they may not win a game.
Right. They better put some money in the bank starting tonight.
But then they get to finish off the season. Broncos at the Patriots at the Raiders. Now, weather could be a factor in that Patriots game on December 29th.
Yeah, but that's their style.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. So they're probably going to be in it.
I think they'll be in it.
Miami's schedule. And, we're thinking that Tua is going to potentially
They're like
come
the perfect
back.
team to bet against in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. They get the Cardinals next week at home.
Who are we talking about now?
This is Miami.
Okay. We think Tua's got a good chance to play in that game.
Yeah. Then they're at Buffalo. Then they're at L.A. Talk about 2 long trips.
Rams?
Yeah, the Rams. Raiders at home, Patriots at home. Okay.
Yeah.
At Green Bay, November 28th.
Not exactly built for cold weather either,
No.
that squad.
Then they get the Jets at home. Then they're at the Texans.
Okay. Could
Then
they be back to playing well by then?
Then they get the 49ers at home.
I'm worried about the 49ers.
A little bit. But I think they have enough to win that game.
Oh, yeah.
At the Browns on December 29th. They're not built for that. The Browns,
Right.
It's
It's
who
not
knows?
their style of play, though.
And then at the Jets. So their last 2 games, they're playing weather games.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I keep coming back to the Chargers being in good shape.
Yeah.
Win or lose tonight, but especially with the win, of course. Steelers are in wonderful shape. Those top 5 you mentioned, I can't imagine a scenario where all 5 are not in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean,
even a huge injury could
Yeah.
still, unless it's Josh Allen or Mahomes. Like any other, they probably go.
Well, let's take a look at that remaining Steelers schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You get the Giants Monday Night Football at home this week.
They a 6-point favorite in that?
Somewhere in that range, I'll bet.
I would think.
Yeah. Then you're at Washington, coming out of the bye week.
The thing with the Giants, too, the more I dig in, is they're another one of these teams where
they can't score.
Run differential is really bad, too. They allow a lot, and they don't run much.
At the Commanders, then they get the Ravens at home, at Cleveland, at Cincinnati, the Browns at home, at the Eagles. Now, they've had their struggles winning in Philadelphia, to be sure.
Not an easy game.
I've covered a lot of Steeler losses in Philadelphia. But the way think those two teams are constituted right now,
I would have the Steelers ahead of the Eagles on a power rank today.
Yeah. At the Ravens, Chiefs at home on Christmas Day, and then Bengals at home.
It's tough.
It's tough. There's no doubt, but
tough.
It's not as difficult as like you looked at that going into
Washington's a team that looks a lot better.
Washington looks better.
Yeah.
But the defense is still a problem. The Browns look considerably worse.
Yes.
The Bengals look considerably worse. I picked the Bengals to win the division before the season started. That's out the window.
Yeah.
The Eagles don't look nearly as good as what they were. And, we'll see about the rest of it.
But the Browns are the only bad team on there.
The Browns are the really bad team.
Yeah, I mean, we know there's
outside of
bad
the
teams.
Giants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 8 to 10 bad teams in the league. And unfortunately, there's 3 games to get to those guys.
Yeah. What you can't have if you're the Steelers right now are injuries. Especially cluster injuries at certain positions because
another O lineman going down would be brutal.
After the game against the Ravens, you got to go to Cleveland 4 days later.
Yeah, something's going to go wrong there.
Yeah, that stinks.
Yeah.
After playing the game against the Eagles, you get the Ravens 6 days later.
A lot of that stuff's not nice.
And then 4 days after playing the Ravens again, both times you play the Ravens, you got to play in a short week.
I think they're playing off a long week, too.
Yeah.
Because I know the Ravens have a crazy rest advantage this year over their opponents collectively. Yeah. The biggest in NFL history.
That part of the schedule stinks. So you got the Ravens on the 21st, and then you got to turn around and play the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Now, it's a Saturday to Wednesday, so, again, it's
it's short.
It's a weird schedule.
Like, even that, at Ravens, at Browns, right?
Yeah. No, it's Ravens here and then at the Browns.
If I told you split, would you take it?
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like 0-2 would be bad.
0-2 would be bad. If you can beat the Ravens here.
Well, then you could go 2-0.
Then you could go 2-0.
But I would take 1-1 there just because it's hard on the bodies. And,
really, kind of the same. I mean, if you could go 1-1 at the Ravens and the Chiefs at home, you'd definitely take that.
You would definitely take that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Browns are so bad. That's why I asked.
But if you can get 2 wins, if you go 2-2 in that stretch of games with the Ravens, Browns, Ravens, Chiefs. You probably did pretty well. You'd take that.
Oh, yeah. And then you're probably a double-digit win team.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get 2 of those 4 compared to where they're at now, I mean, you're pretty close.
Yeah. So that's what you got to look forward to in the second half. But we're going to get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back to wrap up Sunday night's win over the New York Jets right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, just putting a bow on the Steelers' 37-15 win over the New York Football Jets. Again, a game the Steelers, by the time the game kicked off, they were 3-point underdogs.
Kept moving, huh?
Yeah. Kept moving. And Mike Tomlin in games, particularly at home, as a home underdog.
Oh, I know.
Oh.
It's the only time I bet against them all year. I'm glad I was wrong, but I thought the Jets were going to be really dangerous. And they're kind of a dysfunctional group.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are.
I think Tomlin is the only coach in the NFL currently, and this was as the case last year, even when Belichick was in the league, who has a winning record overall, straight up, as a home underdog. Or just an underdog in general. It just is an underdog to have a winning
win more games than you lose.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's a 1-point spread or a 12-point spread.
Doesn't matter.
So he has a winning record as a dog.
Period.
Not at night or on the road after Christmas.
Yeah, straight up.
Right?
Not even considering taking the points into account. He has a winning record as an underdog.
I mean, that in itself is really impressive, but that probably means they're not big dogs very often. You know what I mean?
Typically not.
You know what I mean? They're going to play tough, grinded out games. They don't lose by a ton. They've had some big losses in the years. I'm implying they didn't. But when you're previewing the game, not reviewing the game, it's never like, bet the Steelers lose by 20.
So, Matt, let's do a little bit to finish up the show here real quick. Let's do a little guys who are rising in your eyes and guys who maybe are sliding a little bit. Let's do the risers first.
I'm going to throw some offensive ones out there.
Okay.
Risers, Russ, Najee, Warren, Washington, big riser for me.
Yeah.
All around. Dan Moore.
Dan Moore has just played very well all season long.
McCormick
is
trending the right direction.
Yeah.
The arrow's going up.
Yeah.
Pickens is kind of low fruit because I just think he's just two throws him the ball and win, so I'm not going to pick him. Am I missing anyone?
No, that seems to be.
Like McCollum hasn't stung.
He was
He's
fine.
been okay.
Yeah, he was
what
fine.
I mean?
Yeah.
So he's better than expected. He's better than a practice squad type guy.
How about defensively? I mean, you got to say Beanie Bishop because he had 2 interceptions that game, but he had been struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show if you're a struggling player and you come on the drive,
that's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do. Fixes everything. I told him that after the game. I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, you come on the drive.
Get 2 picks.
You go get 2 picks.
Tell all your buddies.
Yeah.
Let's stay in the secondary. Elliott's never dipped.
Right.
Say he's rising, I don't know.
How about Peyton Wilson led the team in tackles
when you get the linebackers,
yesterday.
I would go to Peyton Wilson.
He had 9 tackles in that game.
I think Queen's noticeably better than he was to start the season.
Oh, people were killing them after the long catch and run by Hall, and I'm like, Atlanta Roberts basically. I mean, they all collided with each other, and it happens. And oh, by the way, Hall's really good.
He's really good, really good. He's one of the best backs in the league. I'm running out of defensive ones. I'm not going to say T.J. Watt's rising.
How about James Pierre?
Held up well.
Yeah, you're playing against 2 of the better receivers in the league.
Yeah,
and you weren't a liability out there.
So
played the entire second half.
And the announcers were really poor, I thought, with some injury news. And I immediately thought, oh, no. I mean, Jackson can hold his own against those guys. Pierre's going to get picked apart. And with all respect to Bishop, I'm like, now they have 2 guys to throw at as opposed to 1, consistently. And it didn't happen at all. And actually played well from what I saw.
Yeah.
I didn't watch all the All-22. I also don't know this definitively, but it didn't look like Porter traveled. They did a lot of left-right stuff.
Some on third downs.
Yeah.
There were sometimes on third downs. And I saw a stat. He was targeted 3 times in coverage. I saw it was on the
next gen
stuff.
The
next gen stuff. 3 times of coverage, gave up 1 catch for 9 yards, but he was on Adams like 17 times and Wilson 26 times.
Mm-hmm.
And he was targeted 3 times.
Right. I would say he played really, really well.
I mean, which one of these guys is the all-pro and which one is the guy that nobody's talking about right now?
So it was early in the game, and I think I only saw it once, but if I was the Jets, I would have done it so much more. When it looked like they were playing sides, they put a bunch to the field, and Porter was on the short side, I think it was, with no wide receiver on that side, but he still stayed to the side.
Yeah.
And they pulled a guard, and they got a tight end on him, and they got Breece Hall, and they got a big chunk gain. I'm like, I would do that over and over. And Porter's a much better tackler.
That was once. That was on the touchdown because he had a 13-yard run on the touchdown. That was his only chunk run of the game.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, it was – if you know these guys are going to play sides, you got all these good receivers on one side, and Porter's probably not guarding them.
They were mixing things up, and so just because that happened, they caught him in a play in that situation. Sometimes you call the right. They may have
100%.
They came out in that formation later with nobody out there, and I'm like, well, they're throwing a pass to Jack Conklin or the tight end Tyler Conklin here. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
They cleared everybody out, and he's over there by himself, and there's nobody on that side of the field because the Steelers were a man on that play.
Yeah.
So you just didn't know what you were going to get. Mm-hmm. And I thought, how about Terrell Austin the defensive adjustments that they have made,
clamped them down pretty quick,
week after week in the second half. I mean, it's pushing the right buttons. I understand they lost to the Cowboys. I understand they gave up 10 points in the second half in Indianapolis.
10 points and a half isn't a lot.
It's not a lot of points.
You can win a lot of games with 20 points allowed.
Yeah.
I mean, that second half point differential kind of blows me away.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's 68 points. I mean, they're just beating people up physically, and you're making good adjustments and executing better and getting better as the game goes on. That's winning football.
Yeah, real quick, before we got to go here. Some of the guys who are struggling a little bit. Broderick Jones. I need to see more of. He's got to be better than what he has been. I know people think, well, he messed with his head. They told him no. He's been playing right tackle.
Yeah, so that's kind of an excuse
since training
at this
camp,
point.
and he is not playing well.
He doesn't always know the snap count. He doesn't block the right guy.
You can't just say, oh, he's our left tackle for next year.
No,
with the way that
not.
he's played.
You're more and more thinking you better give a contract offer to Dan Moore. And take it from there and have one extra baby. Maybe they all hit and you're happy.
Yeah.
Anyone else go in the wrong direction?
I'm trying to not real. I mean, again, you're 5-2. It's hard to single out, and I don't want people to feel I'm not picking on Broderick Jones.
Right. Special teams go in the right direction.
Special teams is tremendous. They've been really good. I mean, we didn't mention Boswell. We didn't mention Corliss Waitman.
We could have thrown those guys in the thumbs up.
I still
Connor Hayward as an offensive player to me is leaving me a little short.
Yeah, need to see more there. I think
I'm not sure where he creates mismatches
Calvin Austin
anymore.
had a bad drop yesterday.
Really bad drop.
Yeah,
bad drop.
Again, if they get that, that's a first down, and who knows where that drive goes. Instead, they have to. That was the first of their 3 and outs. And
I had a big pile of halftime notes and thought, and one of them was, if the second half doesn't go as well, we might look back at that Austin drop and be like, that was a drive killer.
Yeah. So. But overall, pretty good.
His returns have been decent, though.
He's been very good as a return guy. So overall, not I can't kill the guy, and he had a 36-yard catch in that game. So hard to knock him on that one. But yeah, I mean, I think they're trending in the right direction.
I'm looking for guys going backwards and not really seeing it.
Yeah. So there you go, Broderick Jones. You got to be better,
and he can be. That's the thing.
He can be. That's the thing.
We've seen it.
Yeah. So absolutely. But that's going to do it for today's show. So for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, manning the Justin Miller hotline. We need to get signs put up with that. For Tyler Vittmeyer, keeping our videos out there on YouTube, I am Dale Lolley. We appreciate you listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.